Hi, everyone. It's Selene here, and I am back with a very special episode, a bonus episode of Life in Jest. I am with my friend JoEllen McCarthy, and I met her through Gay Palisner, who also was a guest not long ago, and she'll be back again. And JoEllen is just this amazing person. JoEllen, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you became a book ambassador and exactly what that means?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am JoEllen, and I am a huge nerd. So if you're listening to this podcast, I guarantee we are soulmates because nerds collect each other and connect with each other often, right?
Yes.
That's one of the reasons Selene and I connected. But I'm a former New York City educator and a current staff developer, literacy consultant, and coach. My role as a book ambassador is one that I do for various organizations to help get books in the hands of readers. So I help schools, administrators, teachers curate collections to find books that will be serving as tools as co-teachers. I always say that
Mm,
books are the best tool, especially picture books. If you know my work,
yeah.
and if you don't know my work, I hope that you'll check it out. I actually did author a professional book for educators about using picture books and read alouds called Layers of Learning, using read alouds to connect literacy and caring conversations. Because I think every book gives us an opportunity to talk with kids and have deeper conversations about
Yes.
reading, writing, and life lessons. And so, through that work and the passion that I have for it, I've been invited to connect with other organizations as a book ambassador. So people will
Mm,
send me, texts and arcs to review and to share, and then to think about the ways that they can be used in the classrooms. I love the opportunity to connect with teachers and to share my thinking and then to grow our ideas together. And one of my favorite, most essential things to do is to connect with the creators of those stories. So, like
mm,
Selene, on our topic today, talking about the ways in which creators influence the reader, I'm so excited to discuss one of my favorite things, which is author notes, because
mm.
authors' notes are like the little secrets that we find. It's like that extra added gift. You
Yes.
read a book, you learn something, you explore an idea, you deepen your understanding. Maybe you're suggesting ideas that make us think, more deeply or question our original beliefs. And then you get an author's note, which gives us the
Mhm.
intention and the purpose of that creator. And it's like
Yes.
having that private conversation. Your books are so amazing for that, Selene. I
That's nice.
absolutely love it. No, and I'm a talker, so I'll be quiet, but I'm
Oh,
dying to
good.
share one of my favorites from By the Sword, which is your book.
Yes. Yeah, that was my first one, and man, what I had a lot to say about that process. I went through hell to get that story, by the way. I went through friggin' hell.
Well, you know what? Kids need to hear that. And so if you're listening today, I'm coming at this with my hat as an educator and as a literacy, I'll say literacy grandma because I visit schools. I don't currently have my own full-time classroom, but as a staff developer, I
Right.
get to visit and people invite me in to do professional developments.
I think that that's really important what you do because you're so right. It's not enough to just have the books out. It would behoove people to be guided to the ways to use them because educators are probably the most busy people in the world. They have the most important job. There's nothing more important than educating our young citizens. It is vital, right? It's absolutely vital. And they have so much to do with the curriculum. I mean, it's overwhelming what they have to do. They would love to, I'm sure, but they don't have the time to really think about the different ways they could use a particular book. It's just not in their wheelhouse because they're overwhelmed. So what you're doing is so amazing to provide that bridge to the information, the way you're showing people you're getting their ideas churning about other ways to use these books. It's so, so important.
Thank you for
So,
saying
yeah.
that. And I just want to preface that, I'm offering an invitation to consider the ways to use books based on my experience with kids. And so our greatest job is to connect with one another, to use our libraries, our librarians, reading advisors, be aware of what's out there, what's new, what's relevant, what's necessary in the moment, what could maybe extend a conversation beyond the curriculum mandated program. Many schools are
Yes.
moving to programs now, which is
Yes.
really, in response to the buzz, this pendulum swings back and forth, the science of reading. And
Yeah.
that is just a body of evidence of how kids can learn. It's not a practice, it's not a program. And
Right.
so people are buying programs like quick fix, I got it, I'm taking care of this, when it's really the responsive educators, the differentiation in the classroom, and the ways teachers are trying to find to meet the varying needs of our kids because
Yeah.
no kids are alike,
Y
right?
That is a huge thing. It's so true. There's no way to fit every kid into, like, a box. It's As a matter of fact, there's no way to fit any kid into a box. Every kid is individual, and it's so, so hard, and I did get frustrated with that when I briefly flirted with becoming a teacher. It's like, I just don't fit here because I love it, but I can't do the things that they want me to do. I just don't fit into that mold, and it's not for me. So I teach my books. I love speaking with kids, anybody really. I mean, I think picture books are for anybody actually, and very
100.
help like for everybody, and especially in this crazy world, you learn so much in a picture book that you could read an entire adult quote unquote book and not, just it sounds weird when you say adult, right? But you can learn more, I think, sometimes in a picture book because it's very hard to retain all that you read in this big, thick book. But a picture book, you're like, oh, wow, it strikes you so immediately, between the amazing illustrations and the words and it's like a poem will strike you, right? Like a poem is very, very short. I mean, maybe they're longer like Walt Whitman, but it's tight and it's this burst of emotion. And a picture book is a literary burst of emotion, and so it's easier for us to retain and it's easier for us to feel, inspired immediately. I'm not trying to disparage adult books, but it's just a different thing. I know that after I read a lot of nonfiction history, of course, because I write a lot of it, but I can't. I mean, of course, I've highlighted things, I've taken a million notes, but overall, I don't get a call to action from it usually. And picture books give calls to action. And the really interesting thing is everybody gets their own personal call to action. We're all individual people and we all respond in our own way. So it's so vital. It's a circle when with a picture book. It starts with the author and then the artist, and then it makes this way, and the circle ends with each reader. It's a series of circles. It's like
Yeah.
blowing out bubbles, right? It's just this beautiful process of learning and inspiration and calls to action for life. It could be social justice. It could be awareness. Young people need this, all this for a variety of reasons, just like life lessons, everything. It's all in the
Absolutely.
picture books.
Well, you're such
But
a prolific writer and you offer so much to the students and the readers that you reach. And I do believe very, very strongly that picture books are ageless and priceless. And so
yeah,
they become our most powerful tools because
yes,
anytime we look through the lens of critical reading and thinking, we're inviting readers to write the story. So you take in that
yes,
information and then your perspective, your point of view, your understanding grows and expands and also influences how you're interpreting something. So if
yes,
you then add in an author's note or you then add an opportunity to connect with the illustrator or the author and what their thought process was in creating that, it really can help extend that idea. And, to your point, it's not about the books, it's about the conversations we have around
yes,
those books. Like it's so essential. And so one of the things that you
absolutely.
said in I want to bring this up in By the Sword, you had said that, history is not an exact science. We learn
Yeah,
about the past from observations. No two people note the same details or experience an ordeal in the same way. So one remembers one thing, one remembers another. And so the history writer is like an archaeologist. He must dig through primary sources for fragments in time. He must piece them together, creating a vivid picture full of scent and sound. He must make history live. I love that so much because
thank you.
not only are you explaining the reason and the importance of this work, but you're also extending that invitation to kids. Like if you're going to do some research, you have to be passionate about it. You have to investigate. You have to have primary sources. And you also have to dig through that to
Yeah,
find out what all that experience was based on and trying to make sense of it with different understanding, right? Like not
yes,
only what was happening then, but what's happening globally, what's happening, in terms of really understanding, like you said, it's not an exact science.
no,
So getting perspective, getting point of view, getting multiple
yeah,
sources to bring in, which the back matter in informational picture books is essential. And I love
yes.
that. You've done that in so many of your books. Like
Oh,
if you
yeah,
want to know
yeah,
additional things, go to this primary source or this valuable source or this video or go visit this museum. And that's another call to action. I love
yes.
that. I love that you've done that.
Yeah, and kids love that. I mean, kids definitely love places to visit, right?
Yeah.
It's and families always go on vacations anyway, These days you can go on a website too
I
and
was
and
just
sort
going
of
to say the
virtually visit
internet.
a place. Yeah,
Absolutely. The
yeah,
internet will take you there, which is
yeah,
essential too.
absolutely. But, I just think I wanna share my journey because it's a learning journey and it's not easy, okay? It's not the easiest journey, but it's the most exciting journey and worthwhile journey. These days, everything's so immediate with the social media and this and that, and you can't just Google something and get the information you need. If you really wanna know something, you really have to go to the primary sources and dig, and you always get unexpected information. It's just beautiful gift to learn from the voices of the people, and, I mean, I By the sword, I got it from a memoir of Benjamin Talmadge, who was George Washington's chief of spies. I mean, I didn't even know Long Island was involved in the American Revolution. I got this information when I was visiting a sick friend, and he said, "I loved living in Setauket," and I'm like, sounds like a lot of hay and stuff. What's over there?" And he's like, "Oh, George Washington had," well, first he said it was involved in the revolution, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds boring," which is so ironic, right? Because when I learned about the American Revolution, I'm like, "Oh god, I think I'm gonna go to sleep." It was they made you memorize the facts. I never learned about the individual struggles of the people, and George Washington was like a cardboard figure to me. It wasn't even true that he chopped down a cherry tree, but I'm like, "What does that even mean? Why did he do it?" They don't even tell you the reasons, they just say these things, right? He's this guy in the dollar bill, wooden teeth. What? I don't think that's even true. One day they were made out of something, wha but to just say these random things, he just seemed like really a cardboard figure, a statue, but not real to me. And I
Right.
certainly never thought that I would write about George Washington. But when I heard about the Battle of Long Island, well, first my friend told me about the spies. George Washington had a spy ring that ran across Long Island and into Manhattan. Manhattan was held by the British. Yeah, most people don't even realize that New York was held by the British because the Battle of Long Island, we lost it, and then they took Manhattan. We were direly losing. It's a miracle we became a country, which makes it so interesting to write about.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting? Tension, problems, trying to work through a problem. There's no greater problem solver in the world than George Washington ever. In history, I think he's the greatest because he was losing. He always found a way. So Benjamin Talmadge, you can read his memoir for free online. It's there. Please read it. It's amazing. Share it with young readers because they get it. I mean, I'm going to give a little plug for my new book, Freedom's Cost, is actually I wrote it because By the Sword went out of print, right? And I did get my rights back. I'm gonna try to, find it, put it at least digitally. It had a good run. It came out in 2007, so it was out for a long time. By the way, I got the contract in 2003, so not so quick with these things either.
No, good
But
point.
I love Benjamin Talmadge. He's the hero. He's a little better known now. He was on the show Turn about George Washington's spies, the Culper spy ring. And Benjamin Talmadge ran the ring, but he was the son of a minister and he joined the war. He was a teacher, and imagine any teachers or parents or anybody like that, you just got thrown into a war, right? Because he just joined without thinking about it. And then when he got there, he realized, oh my gosh, I have to look someone in the eye and shoot at them or be killed. That was the reason why I wrote By the Sword. And that also opens in Freedom's Course because the idea it's confrontational. You're doing something noble for freedom, you have to kill people like, the whole concept of who is an enemy when we're all human. The idea that, all right, we're in a war, we're opposite each other, but these are still human beings. And how do you deal with that, right? So I think these are very important things for young readers to think about. And
Yeah.
all of us really, especially these days, everything's so divisive.
Oh my god.
But it's worse than ever. And then he saves his horse. It's a beautiful story. But then he's also the best friend of Nathan Hale, who was killed right after. And so then he wanted revenge. So he kind of was this pure-hearted guy that got really soured. His brother also was killed, and which is horrible, and it's just horrible. So it follows him trying to seek revenge. The Freedom's Cost book follows him, and then it ends with him actually having an opportunity for revenge. He's the one who discovered that Benedict Arnold was a traitor. He insisted that Benedict Arnold's a traitor, and for many reasons, he figured it out, but nobody believed him. But they did call back the spy that they captured, John Andre. So then Benjamin Talmadge has this opportunity to torment him and say, "Well, you're gonna die. You're a spy. You're gonna die," because he wanted revenge. But then in the course of a few days, he couldn't believe the extraordinary humanity in John Andre, and they bonded. So what does it mean when you're getting what you wanted? You know what I mean? Like, so there's so much to unpack psychologically about the whole thing. So
Yeah.
that's why I wrote this. It's middle grade. It's not a picture book, but
Yeah,
I'm
well, I'm
very, very
excited.
proud of you.
I'm excited for you and for those that will read it. And I just think that it's so important that those educators and family members thinking about bringing in informational picture books or other to the schools, to their students, to their families. It's that opportunity to make history come alive. So as you were
Yeah.
talking, it's like, you do such a great job in your presentations when you're talking with kids, but also just being able to share that little piece. And those author's notes give us that opportunity. So
Yeah.
which is
They're
great.
they're they're very challenging to write because you feel the weight of responsibility because you want to share like, there's so much more you could say, really, so you
Right.
have to well, picture book in general is the hardest thing to write because you have to take all the things and boil them down into something poetic, it has to read well, right? It has to be beautiful to read, very nice for the ears, right? Dealing with the senses, all these things, but you also have to leave a lot out when it comes to nonfiction, right? You have to leave a lot out, and that's torturous for us because we wanna share everything we learn.
That's an opportunity for a classroom to extend that research, to extend their
Right.
learning,
Exactly.
and to dig a little deeper, which brings me back to what you said as the archaeologist. And one
Yes.
other thing that your books do that I want to make sure that I give you a compliment about, because I absolutely think it's essential, is many of your books you immediately refer to not just, I'm pulling this one off the shelf. Watch, I'm going to knock everything down.
Oh, no.
Like this beautiful book, Seeking Freedom, The Untold Story of Fortress Monroe and the Ending of Slavery in America, it was illustrated in collaboration with E.B. Lewis. And
Oh,
so
yeah, I
every
love
time,
him.
and it's amazing. And that partnership that exists between author and illustrator is another opportunity,
Well,
because you are one of the very few authors who actually will make sure, even in the write up, like inside, like in a jacket of a book, it'll say, Selene Castrovilla and E.B. Lewis weave a suspenseful tale revealing how two men's brave stand meant eventual freedom to thousands of African Americans and led President Lincoln to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. And I could pick up any number of your books where you constantly recognize and honor the contribution of the illustrator
oh,
who
there
helped you create that story. And not to say that people don't do that when they have the opportunity in presentations, but it's right there in black and white. And I
oh,
think
yeah.
that's so important, especially using picture books in the classroom, to be able to highlight and showcase and talk about that
Yeah.
role of author and illustrator.
My God, the illustrator is the one that really makes all the difference in the world. They tell the story through their own lens, right? They define the book because what do you see first? You see the art, and E.B. Lewis, oh,
Unbelievable.
he's like a god
Mhm.
to me. But I just admired him so much as a writer. I'm like, I want to work with that guy. I knew it, and I was so excited when I found out he was doing that. I'm like, oh, thank you. I was
No, it's
so
amazing.
thrilled.
It's
And he
amazing.
he and I do school visits together. So the kids are getting both perspectives, and I think that is just phenomenal. Yeah.
It is
So,
essential.
yeah.
And I wanna just add one more thing that, you made me think about, because, again, I'm, here sharing my love for your picture books and work, and also thinking about, the influence of educators out there. And so one of the things that I did recently with a colleague, Julia Torres, we created a little plan book for teachers called Seasons of Literacy, and it's basically the calendar where you can have
Hold
your
it up again. It's you're getting a
okay,
little
sure.
blurry.
Called
There
Seasons
we
of
go.
Literacy,
Yes. Yes.
and it's like a monthly guide to nurturing readers and writers. And each month there's a different theme. It connects to like social emotional. It talks about the
Hmm.
important dates, what's going on in the world, things people should know about for literacy celebrations and beyond. And each month has that different focus. So one of the months, which is October now that we're in, is focusing on inquiry. And it really overlaps
Hmm.
so nicely as an invitation to be focusing on the way that we can use inquiry with our students about any aspect of their studies. And so, just a couple of quotes, because we put like quotes in there to kind of inspire teachers, things you
So
could.
are you saying that it has every day in there and they could plan
So
is that
it's
what you're saying?
basically an actual teacher planner with a
Okay.
monthly overview that teachers can write in.
Oh.
They can mark it up themselves, and then we have some invitations to notice. Like for inquiry, we have inspiration,
Mm.
investigation, authors to think about, and then
Oh,
every
cool.
every week has a quote that ties back. And so I was just thinking about this
Nice.
because I want to share some of these quotes, like one by Zora Neale Hurston. Research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. That
Oh,
just
I like that.
speaks so much
Yeah.
to what we're talking about, right? And thinking about
Yes.
how, my colleague and friend Kristen Zemke, I love this quote that we included. One of our main jobs as educators is to connect kids to curiosities they didn't even know they had. And your
Yes.
books do that, right? Which is
Yeah, thank
so
you.
exciting and so amazing. And so I just want to
That's a great quote, I love that.
yeah, it's a good
I
one.
love that. Yeah, yeah.
And so as teachers, as they're thinking about, what books they're bringing into the classroom, you know, always having that like idea of a text, but the teaching
Mm,
consideration, and then inviting the collaboration to come together and be like, okay, what's going to be on our
mm,
shelf?
nice.
Let's
Oh, I
create
love that.
together. So even right now, thinking about, maybe we can bring in things that teachers weren't considering to extend content connections. Like how often do teachers come together as a team?
Mm.
Middle school is the ELA teacher meeting with the social studies teacher. And
Yeah, that's a good question.
bringing
Yeah, yeah,
bringing your picture books and other picture books and informational texts to extend that conversation and to deepen kids' understanding. I think that's really, really
yeah.
essential.
I love this. I love all you've I feel like I wanna run out and write all about this now, like, this because I just the connections it's so inspiring to talk to you about all this, and this is why it's great to go to conferences and speak with each other too, and you're right, the ELA teacher speaking, with the social stu it's all amazing stuff. I don't know what goes on, but I hope they do.
Well,
And, I mean, they're so busy.
yeah, and I think that's also food for thought about how schools are creating and nurturing cultures and communities of
Mm,
literacy where they're supporting each other and supporting ways that they can center kids first, right?
wow.
Researching kids, researching the text they're using, and then, being responsive to that as they're bringing in and adding, whether it's supplementing a curriculum that they have or thinking about the curriculum of children, which is essential.
Right,
We have a
right.
curriculum of children that we have
Mm.
to prioritize and focus on first and
Yeah.
foremost.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. I can't believe that looks like it took you forever to do that book. It's so intense, there's so much going on in there.
Well, it's like a monthly guide. I did it with my
Yeah, but it's
partner.
incredible. It looks so amazing.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm excited, and Julia, my colleague, we're excited to hear from the teachers who are using it because it's a tool we want to help people co-create and plan the year. And so
Mm,
everything that's in there is a suggestion based on, these themes for the months, the literacy celebrations. And so if you have something like this, we hope it's gonna invite you to think more deeply with intention and purpose
mm,
as you're planning your year, right? So
yeah. So that sounds incredibly helpful. Well, why don't you tell us something more about the layers of learning also?
oh, so Layers of Learning is a collection of my thinking, sharing ways that I've used picture books in the classroom. And so I'll share this one because I know this is
Mm,
right behind me on the shelf. So it's filled with
mm,
opportunities to think about picture books. I always like to use the term a heart print book if it's something that is meaningful to me, is left in
mm,
a lasting impression. And so the texts that are in there have some little reference as to why I chose it, like why this was a heart print book, and then some discussion possibilities with life layers, things that
oh,
teachers just could read and talk with kids about. And then it breaks down into opportunities to think about literacy goals for reading and writing, and then things you can do to extend the conversation beyond the classroom, whether it be art or projects and other texts that connect to the idea. So it's really filled with like over 180 picture books with
wow.
these examples that hopefully serve as an opportunity to get kids kids, yes, and teachers to think about how they can use picture books with this purpose of, centering community,
Wow.
agency, responsibility, and
Mhm.
empowerment, which is the care, right? Getting kids to care.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Wow, that's great. Love it.
thanks
Yeah.
for inviting me to talk with you today because Selene, every time we get together, I feel like so energized by the work that you do. And I want to run right back into the classroom and share this. So I can't wait Monday when I'm back with kids to be able to share some of what we talked about today and some of your books.
Thanks. Well, I wanted to talk about the back matter of some other books,
Oh, sure.
friends of mine. This is called Fight of the Century. Alice Paul battles Woodrow Wilson for the vote. It's by Barb Rosenstock, and she's written a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
She know you might know her from Thomas Jefferson Builds a Library.
Yes. I
Uh,
do know that book.
this book is so cool because they made it like they're boxing. Look at that.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't
So
that
who's the
cool?
illustrator that gets that credit? Sarah Green? Is that who
That
it is?
yes, Sarah Green, who I'm not familiar with, but, she did an amazing job, and this is a Corkins Creek I love Corkins Creek books. Evelyn Yoder is the person who started Corkins Creek, and she is such an amazing editor. He draws out the deepest research, the deepest observations of things, but, I mean, but this is the most creative thing. Look, it says round
Oh, I
1, so
love
it's
that.
like the whole thing's a boxing match. I mean,
So
how Isn't that great for kids?
Right, so, you know how I was showing you what I did in layers is like having that as a reader, as a writer? So, thinking about all the writing lessons that are hidden in that text, right? Not hidden, but, you know,
Yes.
I'm right away thinking, "Well, this is a great way to show the structure." So they,
Yes.
take the comparison with a boxing match, right? And so it
Yes.
gives kids an opportunity to open up their thinking. And maybe it's not a boxing, maybe somebody's passionate about football. So you could do
Exactly.
quarters, or maybe it's somebody
Exactly.
who's passionate about music and they want to do something in, different melodic rhythm. I don't know enough about
Yeah.
music. That wasn't a good thing. Or
No, that
music.
works. I think that works.
But you know what I'm saying? I think that's
Yeah.
really, really important,
Exactly.
and I think
Yes.
that the other thing, if I could just put my teacher hat back on for a second, is, like, as soon as you say an author, I'm, like, instantly, "Okay, so Barb Rosenstock did that. I wanna research and find other books by Barb Rosenstock." Sarah Green, the
Yeah.
illustrator, and even that kind of investigation as a book ambassador/educator slash educator, sharing, the tips and tricks, that leads me from my now to my next book. So looking at,
Yeah.
if you are not familiar with your books, you get one title by Selene, and next thing you know, you're led to the next one and the next one. And so I love your new book. I just want to give it a shout out for George Washington's Spectacular Spectacles, because
Oh, thank
there's
you.
some humor and voice in here that I think kids would really appreciate.
Yeah.
I do. And
And
I
no, it is I wrote a funny book about treason.
Yeah. No, but I think that's really cool. And then again, with the author's note in the back to dig a little deeper. And so giving kids the opportunity to say, like, maybe they can take an event in history and put a little spin and put a little twist on it, but they have to have the facts to back it up, right?
That okay, I'm glad you brought that up because that was so challenging to write that book because all I wanted to do, I couldn't believe that George Washington put on a pair of glasses and stopped his men from committing treason. They were going to storm the Congress and take over. They were going to do a military coup, and they were mad because they didn't get paid. I mean, they had reason, but there's no reason. That I see parallels all the time with things that, but you can't storm the Capitol. You can't overthrow your government, especially that's the government they fought for.
Right, right.
How ironic is that, right? So
Hmm.
and I remember saying to Carolyn, I just want to write a very simple book about George Washington putting on his glasses and stopping his men from committing treason. She's like, oh, it sounds great. Well, that was maybe at least 10 years ago. Okay. Probably more. I have written humorous picture book manuscripts if they
Right.
haven't been made yet. But the idea to do it historically, most of my books are pretty serious stuff, and it's very somber. And Washington's walking he's trying to keep everybody happy and he has them build a temple of virtue. I'm like, the temple of virtue. I'll put that in. That'll be great. They can, but I couldn't put it all in the temple of virtue because too much happened outside of the temple of virtue. Like all this is in the notes. So I put in the note, I put exactly what happens, because a lot of it gets left out in the text, of course. But my favorite part of the note is telling my journey because it's like, okay, it took years and years and thought and thought. It was solemn, solemn George Washington's point of view, but also other people's point of view. Because Carolyn kept saying, no, we need context for this and this and this. It couldn't just be from George's point of view the way I was writing it because there were too many other things happening that he wouldn't have known. So I had to put these other people. Da, 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 da. It just got more and more mired. I mean, it was ridiculous. Okay. And even Alexander Hamilton was in it. By the way, instigator, not a hero in this book. Just saying. He was the one that was goading them to do it because he wanted more power for the federal government. It was a crazy thing to do. He didn't think they would actually do it, but maybe you should think about that. That's what Washington said, like, "Yeah, maybe you should have thought about that." That's what he said to him at the end. But
You make me think about the importance of all the research that you do, again, going back to the teacher lens, right? That
yeah,
that students see and understand how you read and you research, and that is building your depth of knowledge around something. And it makes me think of our friend Marissa Moss, who I couldn't
mm.
fit all of her books in the one screen, but she's someone who is also an amazing author of
Oh, yeah,
nonfiction. And
yeah,
she does the process so well with her note taking and note keeping and researching, and often has author's notes to explain that to students how she, is on a journey, finds a picture, and then wants to research more about who this
yeah,
person is. And I
yeah,
think that piece is so essential because it's, again, sparking that curiosity. So,
yes,
yes, we're not just learning to learn in school, we're
yes.
learning to learn in life.
Important, and the thing it's the most important thing I think that I share in my author's note is I put it away, but it was always in my heart, and it's very important because because a lot of times these days people think of things as just disposable. Oh, well, and let it go. But if something meant something to you, an idea that you had, just because it didn't come out right at that moment, it's still in your heart. Maybe you can revisit it. You don't have to just give up on something that meant something to you. Play around with and think about George Washington, all the things he did to win the war. He never gave up. He thought of ideas, right? So one day it just hit me. Honestly, I had to go to a meeting of the Bank Street Writers Lab, and I like to share. I love sharing when I'm there. So I'm like, I don't have anything to share. I wonder. I'm like, wait a minute, the glasses. So I did not look at the fire that I had. Right, I just started writing. It basically came pouring out of me funny. And I'm like, what is this? I wound up telling the simple story. And then I had to tell, of course, a lot in the author's note, but it was this amazing story of how, because he was embarrassed to wear glasses. And how important is that, too, right? For kids. So he hid the glasses. And when he put the glasses on, they're like, what is this? So it was all through his lens. By the way, so many fun
Oh,
little
so many
references to see.
no, I love it.
I love it. So that I did love writing that note because I just felt like, wow, this is my gift to the readers to see. I want all young people to know, don't give up on something you care about. Not maybe it's not time now. Maybe it is. You can keep delving or you can put it away if it's just overwhelming, but you can always revisit it. You can always revisit it. And this is something everybody needs to think about because we treat everything these days as so disposable.
Right. And
That I can't take.
you're teaching kids about perseverance, you're teaching kids
Yeah.
about, commitment, and you're also teaching kids that not only about holding on to an idea, but within a writing experience about how much work goes into revision and
Yeah.
and creating something, not to use the word vision again, but that's
Yeah.
what it is, seeing
Yeah.
something again to see it better, to see it
Well, vision's in the word revision. There's a lot of
exactly,
you never
exactly.
think about this stuff until you're writing a book about glasses.
But
But
that's a
yeah,
great lesson for
yeah.
kids, right?
It's so if yes, because more what I love how social media helps us to reach people we've never met, and we can learn a lot. Even AI, okay, is a double-edged sword, okay? Because you can learn a lot from it, but on the other hand, it could destroy us if it's in the wrong hands. It's all about how you use things. So of course, we have to educate kids about this. We shouldn't just say, "Don't use AI." That's not the way to handle it at all. We have to show them the proper way to handle it, right?
Right.
But you can learn a lot from AI.
That could be another whole interview with
Yeah,
additional
that's very
students.
true. But, the bad part of there's a lot of bad parts about social media, unfortunately, but for me, the way everything looks so effortless, it gives kids the wrong idea, like, if I didn't have it right they did it so perfectly, but they don't hear about what the person went through, you know what I mean? They see this perfect video, but they don't know how much effort and all the things that this person did, not only to make that video, to become the person that could make that video. It takes a lot of work, it takes effort, and I just like my son Casey, he was a comedian, but he just felt so defeated when he looked at these people that was so polished and everything, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." He goes, "Well, look at you. You can talk to people." Like, "Oh my god." The first time I remember standing in my classroom doing public speaking, that you have to read reports. I thought my legs would collapse in front of everybody. I don't know how I held myself up, right? And I'm like, "Casey, I've been doing this for, like, 15 years." I was terrified in the beginning. I was like, "Oh, I'm writing books. I won't have to speak. Ha, ha, ha," right? But I learned. And you know what? There's no substitution for the practice of it. You have to get through it. You can read about how public speaking is and this and that, but only doing it is going to take away those fears. It's all from practice. I was so scared, but that's the problem is everybody looks so freaking polished. And even when you see like a book, or, like it looks so perfect. Kids have to know, no, it wasn't perfect when it
Yeah,
got
they
written,
need to know about
you know.
they
So
need to know
it's
about that.
important. It's
Yeah.
important.
I forgot to also give a nod to, a couple, married author, illustrator, James and Lisa Klein Ransom.
Oh,
They
sure.
do so
Yeah.
many amazing,
Yeah.
amazing collaborations, and it's a unique spin on their take working together as author, illustrator, and obviously they've done work with other individuals as well, but that's another great example of mentor, author,
Oh, yeah.
illustrators to
Y
share with
you
students.
could you wanna show the book? Show the book you have there?
I mean, I have a ton of their books. I just know that I just wanted to mention, the
Oh,
Ransoms.
yeah,
I
they're
think
great. They're
they're a
great.
great,
Yeah.
collaborative team as well.
I
So,
love that. I love that, the collaboration when I mean, I'm very envious of people that do that together. That's romantic to me.
Totally.
Never mind the candlelight dinner, let's work together on a book,
Yeah.
you know?
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Well, this has
I
been
love
so
that.
awesome. I love this. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say, I don't think I ever finished saying that this book, by, Barb, because it's such a fun book with the boxing and all that, she then has this extremely well done author's note. There's so much in here that a teacher could take pieces out of it and make lessons. You could use this for older in high school, like, when they're really focusing a lot on suffragettes and suffrage? It's hard to say that, suffrage. Or you could use it younger, you do it age appropriately, but there's something here for every age. It's another example. So much extra information is given in the author's note. I just love that. I love these author notes where you get an abundance and then you can pick out pieces that you could do a whole unit in high school and you could actually provide them with this book and they could use it to do a presentation, whatever they do. They get so much information in here. So I
Fantastic.
really I learned so much from other books, what people do. It's so inspiring to look at everybody else's work. And I'll just say I look forward to going to nerd camp because JoEllen does nerd camp Long Island, and we're gonna have so much fun.
Yes, I
I
can't
love it
wait.
there. Yes. JoEllen, this has been so much fun. Thanks so much for joining us. And tell us where people can find you on social media and things.
Oh, right, right. So, I started TikTok to do book talk, and
It's
I'm
so
doing
cute.
a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
little conversations around
yeah,
how to use books. So if
yeah.
your audience is on TikTok, they can find me on TikTok at JoEllen McCarthy. I think there's an underscore in my name between my first and my last name.
Okay.
I'm also on Instagram. I'm not as good. I used to be amazing on Twitter when Twitter was like
Yeah.
vibrant with educators having amazing conversations. So I'm exploring a few other options. I started Blue Sky. So if people are on Blue Sky, they can find me
Hmm.
on Blue Sky. And certainly look for me on Instagram, TikTok. And if you want to email me or just connect, it's my last name, McCarthyJoellen@gmail.com. Thank you for all the work that you do and the gifts that you give to teachers in your presentations, in your books, and in your author's notes, those added gems. So
Oh, thank
thank
you.
you,
I
Sean.
thank you for being you. You're just so amazing.
You're so sweet.
You oh my God, one of the most caring people I know. The world needs you to be cloned and put everywhere. In all the schools everywhere. We be with everybody. We have
Yeah,
to
well,
well,
tell your friends, tell your audience
yes,
if they're looking to do professional development and would like to invite me. I do virtual and in-person visits too. So forgot
that's
to say that.
excellent.
All
That's
right.
good.
Well,
That's important. Okay, and they
yeah,
can reach out to you on your email.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you, Joellen. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.
Bye. You're
Bye.
welcome and bye everybody.
Bye.